Hey, welcome everyone to the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live here today, and it's a beautiful day out today. I'm your host, John Townsend, and we'll be talking all kinds of fun stuff about the channel and history and all that kind of good stuff. But let me introduce the other people here in the studio, or the tavern as the case may be. Ryan is the man behind the bar. You got good stuff for us today, right, Ryan?
Lots of good stuff.
There you go. Ryan's got lots of good stuff today. On the other side, in the other century, Aaron is on the console making sure everything goes good, and he'll talk about Super Chat and all that kind of good stuff. And Kyle is in the question seat in the chat. So if you've got questions, the chat is the place to put them, and he will find them, and we will talk about them. What do I need to cover right away?
Well, I know
Ryan?
that, so before we get fully immersed here, on Monday somebody asked about equipment.
Equipment.
Yes.
Equipment.
So,
I've already forgotten about that question. I was going to do a whole bunch of prep on equipment, but that's all right. There's an Amazon. Is it in the description section, Aaron?
It would be shop/Townsends, right?
I think so.
Amazon.com.
Right.
Yeah, then it's there.
Right. So there's a link down in the description section. It's a Amazon link, and it covers a lot of the equipment that we use here on the channel. I haven't updated it in the last couple of weeks. There may be one or two other pieces of equipment we don't cover. Like people were asking about, I think on Monday, people were asking about the microphone. This is a Rode Procaster. But most of the equipment we use, Panasonic GH5s, and the microphones that we use, they're listed in that. If you got specific equipment questions, you can run those in the chat for me.
It's looking pretty up to date. I'm looking at
Good.
it. It's like,
Good.
Yeah, I'd use all that.
Right. So, and even now, for equipment-wise, we're moving software from one to the other. We're always trying to up the game here, make it so that it's more efficient, and we have prettier videos. So I think that covers the equipment question in the short and sweet. Some people had a question about the Natalie and Tara live stream that went out on Monday. That one was mostly sort of inside baseball YouTube questions and covering that kind of content because, of course, they didn't have a special knowledge about historical things, but they, of course, are YouTubers. We kind of kept the questions in that realm, and it doesn't necessarily fit on the channel as well. So what we're going to do is send that video to Natalie and Tara, and they can put it up on their channel, or they have a special playlist for their live streams, so it'll probably go out on that. So you'll have to check with them about how that works out. Well, we still have to do the file transfer and all that kind of stuff. So that may take some time. But we are working on that issue as we speak. Is there another piece of news that I need to talk about?
Yeah, there's some, but we should go to the questions for a second.
Okay. Let's pick up a question or two. Kyle.
Okay. I want to know about life of the East India Company soldiers and sailors too.
Wow. Yeah, so we kind of stick with North American things that are going on, and so while the East India thing is very, very interesting, and the cultural things that come over, back to the mother country from that are very, very, of course, interesting, and they do somewhat affect what's happening in North America. And of course, we get things like tea because of that, and the imported porcelains, some items kind of carry over. They come from the East Indies, and then they show up in Great Britain, and then they get transported again to us as export items. But beyond that, I don't have a lot of specific information. It's not a place where I spend a tremendous quantity of research time. Although, if the right book comes along, I'll certainly dig into it.
What kind of stores were there in the 18th century frontier, or was it just what you could barter?
Yeah, so that comes right up on the wonderful topic for today. We're talking about sort of prices. And one of the things one of the pieces of documentation I wanted to go back into was this wonderful inventory we have of Fort Wayne in 1811 or so. And we get this full and complete sort of inventory of all the things that are in the Fort Wayne trading post there at the time. And that trading post, it's sort of implied that most of the trading that was happening was what was going on with Native Americans. But obviously from the goods that they're stocking, they expected it not just to be Native Americans that we're trading to. So we get a very interesting picture of what's happening on the frontier, because at the time in 1811, Fort Wayne is really on the, at least in this area, is in a sort of a deep frontier. This particular spot that's only 30 miles away from Fort Wayne wasn't settled for another 30 years, even started to be settled for another 30 years. So it's kind of at the front edge of the frontier, at least where that's at in 1811. And the inventory of this trading post is just amazing. Has some incredibly interesting things in it. And we'll sort of get to that in a little bit. I think we'll take one or two more questions before we get to that sort of content.
Were there different kinds of nutmeg? Can you do a video on what young people did back then?
Is that one question?
That's a two-part question.
Are you sure it's not one? There's, in a sense, there are two kinds of nutmeg. There's nutmeg, and then there's mace. And there may be some grading issues within the nutmeg. We don't see that too much today. Haven't seen too many references to that in the 18th century. So I think they basically had one kind of nutmeg. But then there's mace. So you've got the nutmeg. You've got the nutmeg nut, right? And around the outside of the fruit it's a lot smaller than my hand, but is a little sort of leaf covering or holder of the nutmeg itself. I probably have it upside down. Yeah, right, like that. And that's the mace part. And the mace covering comes off, and they're called blades of mace. Sometimes it's ground up, but it's another sort of take on nutmeg. It's a similar flavor, but definitely different. So similar but different. So if there are two kinds of nutmegs, it would be mace and then the nutmeg.
I'm gonna do some donations real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a two-parter.
I don't know how to answer the young person thing very well, so I'm going to think about that one. And go ahead, Aaron.
All right. Thank you, everyone who has donated so far. This person donated actually before the stream started. I saw it in the chat. So thank you. Capsule of Wonder. Thank you. Love your channel and would like to know where I should start with living history sites in Tennessee. I just moved to Nashville a few months ago. All right.
Well, lucky, because that was on my list of things to talk about. Let's talk about Mansker Station.
Yeah.
Let's do these donations.
We'll come back to that one.
I'm just saying, let's not forget about that.
Okay, I'll put it on my list. Go ahead.
I think it's Garcon. Thank you. Kunarik. Thank you. Grandpa's Place. Thank you. Do you have a physical storefront?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sea Pearl's Journey. Nice. I got to the tavern before it closed. You did. Logan C. Thank you. Greetings, fellows. Would a video covering any forms of privateers or pirates during the colonial periods affecting colonies during that time? Savannah was a known pirate port for colonial Georgia during that time.
Okay.
That sounds like a cool topic.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. This is from Denise. Thank you. Max are cool. Thank you.
Max, yeah.
What kinds of materials cost most versus least? Wood, clay, iron, brass, animal hide or bone, or textiles, in order if possible. Thank you. And that's all I got right now. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Ryan, what do you want to say about Mansker Station?
Well, they just moved to Nashville.
Right.
We were just
Nashville.
at Mansker Station. Right. And the videos that are coming out right now, the last two that came out on riding were filmed in Mansker, so we should talk a little bit about that.
Sure. That area, Tennessee, has got some great living history stuff going on. There's Mansker Station in the city of Goodlettsville, which is just north there, and the Campbell Bowen House.
Yeah,
That's right there at the
Bowen
same
Campbell.
site. Bowen Campbell
Bowen
House.
Campbell House.
I'm lucky I got the two names
Right.
right, much less.
And that's
the
at
order.
Mansker Station, right? The same
Right.
site.
Same site. Great site. I would definitely check it out. Talk to the people there. There's also a lot of activity in that area for living history sites. I think Bledsoe's is close.
Bledsoe's is close. The Hermitage is there in Nashville.
Yeah, the Hermitage is there. There's Traveler's Rest. There's a bunch of different sites there, as well as groups that are actively reenacting the area. If you head over to the eastern part of the state, there's the new sort of revamping of the David Crockett birthplace historic site.
There's
And
Fort Loudon as well.
Right, Fort Loudon. There's just so many great spots there in Tennessee too. So dig in. A lot of great folks there to connect with, all over the place. And we had such a great time with the folks there at Mansker Station. So thank you, Bill, and all the other folks there. Do we have a storefront? Yes, we do have a storefront, and people can visit it. Although every time somebody rings the doorbell, Ryan has a tick or something because he's got to run out there and talk to people, and he's trying to get work done. And
I like talking to people.
I keep pouring more work onto him, and then bing, and then he's got to go to the storefront. But yes, you can visit us here, and occasionally you can see the back and all that kind of crazy stuff that happens here. But it's getting harder and harder because we're busy.
Yeah.
Ryan
wanna
had to
say
do
anything?
a tour himself this morning.
Yeah.
Nobody was here.
Yeah, I had to actually do
I had my headphones on. I was cut, and I saw John
Yeah.
walk by.
Yeah.
It was good though. They were pretty starstruck.
You did a tour this morning, John?
Yeah.
When I wasn't here on time?
Yeah, right. When you were late as usual.
Let's move on to the next donation.
Anyway, Logan C. and Privateers. Great question, great topic, and I will do my best. There's some really interesting. Do I have that book here? No, I don't see it. I have, some research materials on that. There's the naval documents, the American Revolution, a giant set of documents, but it's sort of like, hey, you want to find that grain of sand? Well, here, let me pour that bucket out on the table. You can dig in there to find it. So much great material, but it can be hard to sort through and find, the pure nugget that you're looking for, even though it's all gold. And
I was just washing some dishes back
and
here.
we're back to material costs again. Let me dig into this topic. The inventory at the trading post in Fort Wayne starts off with, and I'm going to start off with the description of one of the things in here. One of the very first sort of high ticket items in the trading post are rifles. They put down the amount of cost for these rifles at $12.50. But we have this letter from 3 years earlier. Johnston, who apparently is running the trading post, and he's writing back to somebody else. He says, "The rifles are the worst made guns I ever saw in my life. They're not worth the transportation in any part of the continent. The mounting I perceive on some of them fell off in transportation without the box in which they were packed having received any injury." In other words, like whole chunks of the gun fell off, and the box wasn't even bumped. Every rifle purchased for use of these stores ought to be examined by a competent judge before being received. Almost all those sent here since the commencement of this establishment, except some I selected in Philadelphia 2 years ago, were mere cheats. Rifles being a permanent article in this trade, I conceive it my duty to notice these things to you in order that whoever made these guns may not be employed in the future. So, obviously...
1 star.
So, yes. And I'd give it 0 if they would let me. Yeah. So, he's talking about the...
But then it's the irritating 1 star damaged in shipping.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like,
Except
wait,
these
this is
weren't.
how
Right. It was like
Product good.
it came broken in the box, and UPS didn't even drop it.
What you
Yeah, somebody
drinking?
said it sounds like an Amazon
Yeah.
review.
Today I'm drinking some of the spruce beer from back when we did the spruce beer episode, and it ages, gets even better.
The one we did like a month or two ago.
Yeah,
Ooh.
exactly.
I'm drinking some wine that feels
Good
like
stuff.
it's been quite aged as well.
Well, is it the Madeira or the port?
It's neither.
Which is back
Okay. No comment. Who knows what's back there?
There's a question that says, "Is Ryan's bar fully functional?" Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes it is.
Come on in, I'll show you.
Here's an appendix. This is the prices of goods that are going out, and this one's a very generic one. This isn't an inventory, but this one's from a different fort, and they're saying a gun, 20 beaver skins, a Stroud blanket, 10 beaver skins, a white blanket, 8. So this Stroud one's probably either thicker or it's like red in color, which is what people are really wanting. So a blanket costs about half of the amount a gun costs. An axe of a 1 pound weight. This is probably a tomahawk. 3 beaver skins. Half a pint of gunpowder. So that's like a cup of gunpowder. 1 beaver skin. So gunpowder is pretty pricey.
Yeah.
And 10 musket balls. Again, 1 beaver skin. So you get a little bit of scale there about the cost, especially. It's sort of like everyone prices things to beaver skins and to guns, right? So, because guns are always at the top. Tobacco, when sold, fetched 1 beaver skin per foot of Spencer's Twist. And rum, not very strong, 2 beaver skins per bottle. Probably super watered down rum. Anyway, not prices, but an idea of what's being shipped and how they ship it. A 35-foot long canoe, 4.5 feet wide and 30 inches deep. 35-foot long canoe. That's a big canoe. 8 men and a clerk. Took 26 days to go from Montreal to Michilimackinac. And what did it have in it? It had 16 bales containing cloth goods. It had 12 kegs of rum, 8 gallons each. 2 kegs of wine, 8 gallons each. 4 kegs of pork and beef. 2 kegs of grease.
Jeez Louise.
That's a third tallow and 2/3 lard. A keg of butter. 3 cases of ironwork. A case of guns. 6 cases of powder, gunpowder. 4 bags of shot and ball. 4 bags of flour. 4 rolls of Brazil tobacco. We talked about Brazil tobacco. We're thinking that's exported from Brazil, but we're not sure. And 4 bales of just tobacco. That's 3,500 pounds of goods to stuff into this canoe. Frail, piece of conveyance to go across the Great Lakes. Sounds pretty scary to me.
So, on the tobacco note, I think that Brazil tobacco is tobacco that's exported to Europe then.
Right,
Then-
cross-transported, right. And this was another piece. Again, this is talking about a boat that's going from Michilimackinac to Chicago, probably in that very early 19th century time period. That has, blankets, cloth, scalper knives, vermilion for dyeing things red. It's got wooden combs, looking glasses, scissors, thread, needles, gunpowder, shot, balls. Here it says 2 rolls of twist tobacco, and then after it, 300 pounds of carrot tobacco. Tell me about carrot tobacco.
So carrot tobacco is basically how they would ship bulk tobacco, what we would call bulk tobacco today. Instead of it being in a compressed form or a twist or a rope, it's just loose leaf tobacco. It's kind of like if you just open your cigarette and tobacco poured out. And so it's wrapped up in linen and tied on either end. And
I think these are whole leaves, aren't they? I think they're.
I've read it both ways.
Okay,
So,
okay.
But at any rate, it's wrapped up in linen and it's shipped. And I think that it said anywhere from 1 to 3 pounds is what it averaged. But
Right.
that was a carrot of
A
tobacco.
carrot of tobacco. A few rifles, gun flints, copper kettles, steel, fire steels, half axes. So they probably mean tomahawks again there. 3 dozen silk handkerchiefs. So this guy got to have my handkerchief and 150 cotton shirts. So you can see kind of what's being traded, what's being sent out to the frontier, and the inventory that comes in here has massive quantities of cloth. And it's kind of hard to read some of these numbers the way it's written out here. And I'm not sure exactly. I think this is dollars per piece. Oh, boy. That one's hard to read. Things that show up that are interesting. So we've got lots of cloth. A lot of tools, like files. You don't see that many saws, but you see lots of files. Because if you have a file, you can make a saw if you want to, right? So rat tail files, flat files, rasps, polishing files, all these kinds of tools, axes. There's all these files, and there's like dozens of files here. There's one pair of pliers. One pair of pliers in your entire inventory. They have molds to make buttons that they're selling, as well as buttons. They sell, not musket balls, but the lead, so you can make your musket balls. So, and then they'll sell molds for that. You've got all these great things: copperas, brimstone, glue, alum, allspice, indigo, vermilion, rosin, twist tobacco, pigtail tobacco, beeswax, tallow, sugar, and then we get to the good stuff: mace, cloves, cinnamon, and nutmeg. Nutmeg showing up on the frontier. Not tons of it, a couple pounds of nutmeg, but that's a lot of nutmegs. We had the gun maker Mike Miller on very, very recently, and he was talking about the stocking and barreling of guns. You've heard the term lock, stock, and barrel, right? That means you're getting the gun, the barrel, the lock that goes on the barrel, and the stock of the gun. They're selling the whole thing, not just a piece of it. And he talked about the idea that they could make the whole gun at that location if they really needed to. And they'd have actually done that. But more than likely what was happening was they would send gun parts, and then the gunsmith in that area would put together the gun. And we have that thing going on here. In the inventory here, 13 common gun locks. So just locks so that you can build guns. What's a gun lock go for? About $1.20. So while it's about a tenth the price of the gun is just the lock itself. And I don't think I've seen any barrels on here. I'd have to go digging for that one. I didn't highlight that. I should have looked for it, but I was running out of time. Here's a quick idea, though, there's in 1812, the Army regulations talk about what happens when the officer, he's taking care of all his soldiers, and what he needs to check the soldiers' gear like every day, the regulations, like it happens every day, to see if the guy has lost or stolen any of his equipment and sold it. And if so, he can dock his pay, like he ever got paid in the first place. But here's the amount that you dock people's pay. If they lose their gun, dock their pay $16. So obviously their muskets are worth a little bit more than those rifles they were selling at Fort Wayne. A bayonet is $2. A ramrod is $1. A cartridge box is $4. A cartridge, if he sold one cartridge, it's a $0.06. I heard that. A flint for your gun, a $0.20. If you lost your screwdriver, a $0.12. Great stuff. Lots and lots. There's just so much great information in something as simple as an inventory. I'll probably come back and cover some more of this, but I want to get some questions going. So, Kyle.
Yes.
Go for it.
All right. How prevalent was barter in town versus country?
One of the tricky things is that there's not a lot of free, hard money that's floating around in the colonies. We're experimenting with paper kinds of currency because there's the lack of hard money. And even when there's that lack that's going on of of the means of trading things, barter certainly happens. And you could even see within this, they're expecting bartering of beaver skins. If you look at some of this inventory, you see other items that were out, obviously things that were flowing into the trading post, not flowing out. There is sugar there, which is actually talking about maple sugar, and some other items like that. Some of the tallow and those items were probably flowing in to the trading post as barter goods. So there's certainly a certain amount of bartering that's going on, and you'll have outlying farmers bringing their goods into town and bartering for those. And so they might bring in their whole crop and sort of, if they are on good terms with a local store, basically sell all their goods to that store and then draw off of that amount later on. So kind of were they bartering one for one? I'll trade you this X for something else. Probably not so much. It was probably more on an account sort of basis.
What were some items that could be found in the general store back then? What items did people typically need to go to the store to buy?
Right. So items that you would need, especially if you're making the other things for your house. There are some things you can make, but you can't make them without tools. So, items like the saws, the rasps, the files, knives, things that are hard to make by an individual person, augers. If you want to build a house or a building or furniture, you're gonna look for those tools and purchase them there. And also those things that are hard to get food-wise. You can't grow nutmeg in the United States, and if you want to have that, you're gonna have to purchase that. Different kinds of fruits and vegetables, and some places like certain parts of the colonies specialize in certain items, and they will transport those to other parts of the colony where those are going to sell better. So obviously foods, but there's a lot of imported things that are fancy items that are coming in, trade porcelain, but even early on, if you watch the advertisements inside the newspapers, and I have some of those I want to talk about later on, you see the items that are coming in, being imported, and you also see articles saying, hey, we just started making these here, and maybe you want to actually buy these made in the United States or made in the colonies, which you would think wouldn't be a call. You'd think that was a modern concept, but it's happening even in 1760, where they're saying, no, we should encourage people making things here in the colonies.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So you were talking about 125, I think, cotton shirts,
Mm.
and this is in 1811.
Yeah.
So is that a big indication of the transition from linen to cotton?
Yeah, I think we're seeing some of that transition certainly happening in that later part of the 18th century and, definitely into the 19th century. Linens really, we can see printed cottons coming in very early, but they're very, very expensive. They're coming in from India and other items being transported from India to Great Britain and then to here. Right. So cotton isn't as hard to come by as you might think.
Okay.
I want to do a couple donations, but before I do, right now, currently, this is the highest amount of people that have been watching one of our live streams.
Whoa! Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now, I was gonna say, when we go live, feel free to throw the link up on your social media of choice.
Yeah.
Tell your friends and stuff, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some donations. And then thanks again to everyone who's already donated.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jim Lindley. 2 donations. First one says, I'm back from the land of no internet service. Sounds like a horrible place.
I was there for a long time, yeah.
Shoddy workmanship is nothing new. That's probably talking about something prior. Caltoid 5, thank you. Did they charge for shipping?
Oh, yeah.
Bruce Stark, thank you. Nice donation. Greetings from Culpeper, Virginia. Thanks you guys for preserving histories. I stumbled across your channel last week, and now I am hooked. Thanks.
Yeah, just last week. Welcome to the channel.
Yeah. Lumpy Thumb.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah.
Says old Lumpy is staying up late and happy to see the live feed. Sounds like I need to save my pelts till those powder and ball prices come down a bit.
Exactly.
XYXYXY. Happy Friday, John and team. Thank you. Another one from Keltoid5. Thank you.
Thank you.
Forgot to ask last time. Any plans for some more road trips? It's kind of a long trip, but the USS Constitution would be cool. Last time I was there, I hit my head on the beam at least 10 times. I don't want to go there.
Constitution.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, when you listen to the Aubrey and Matron or read the Aubrey and Matron ones, they're always everybody's smashing their head on the beams and leaving chunks of their scalp up there, and very common.
Sounds like my worst nightmare.
Well,
oh, you'd
have to crawl on your hands and knees
right,
if you were
the
gonna.
beams like at my shoulders.
I've got this great advertisement. I got several advertisements that I wanted to read out to you because everybody loves ads, right? This is 1774. 1774 on the New York Gazette. Cosmetics. Lady Molyneux's Italian paste, so well known to the ladies for enameling the hands, the neck, and the face a lovely white. It renders the most rough skin smooth and as soft as velvet. There is not the least grain of paint in it, and the ladies who use it cannot be tanned by the most scorching heat. If it is used to infants in a month, it secures them a delicate skin, nor can the most severe frost crack the skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a lot of promises in that.
Yes, it's got to be good stuff.
Right.
And this one here is it's a Venetian paste, and it says it entirely eradicates carbuncles. So if you've got problem with carbuncles on your face maybe, or your nose or whatever, this is the stuff to get. Benjamin Williams, he is bottling beer. So he's telling people that he intends on carrying on a business of bottling beer as usual. Repeated trials have proved it to stand the West Indies. So it goes all the way to the West Indies and come back. Still has bubbles in it, as you can see. Good stuff. Captains of vessels may be supplied with what quantity they please at the shortest notice, 10 shillings per dozen. So, gosh, that's less than a shilling per bottle.
Yeah.
Man, I'm gonna contact that guy. And I thought this one was really good. A baker. This is William Mucklevain at the sign of the Three Biscuits.
You said Mucklevain?
Mucklevain.
The sign of the Three Biscuits.
Yeah, he's at the sign of the Three Biscuits on Pot Baker Hill. He will continue to heat his oven at 10 o'clock every day during the warm weather for baking dishes of meats, pies, and etc. Otherwise, he continues the baking of flour into bread for family use. So if you've got a pie or some other dish of meat that you'd like to have baked, he keeps his oven hot for you. So you need to just check it. It's a sign of the Three Biscuits, right?
I like that.
Yeah, check that out.
Hey,
this
real quick.
Yeah.
Can I want to get this donation real quick.
Go ahead.
Really nice donation.
Go ahead.
It's from Julie Stevens.
Thank you,
Thank
Julie.
you.
Thank you.
Any chance of getting a soap making episode from Maggie? We can go back. I just wanted to read her donation because.
Oh yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah. So like maybe I don't know. She's probably listening, so I shouldn't
Careful.
say that.
I
we're
also
gonna-
just Googled carbuncle and I wish I hadn't.
The last advertisement here. This is another baker. Sarah Sells Muffin Maker. She's on Broad Street. I don't know what sign she's at. She says she takes this method of informing her friends and public in general that she continues making muffins and crumpets hot twice every day, and she humbly thanks her friends for their former favors and entreats the continuance of them because she wants to continue to make crumpets.
Yeah.
Yes, crumpets and muffins in New York in
Broad Street.
1760. Yeah, she's on Broad Street, so
Oh.
you can check that out.
Real quick,
Huh?
just to
Huh?
catch up completely, there was one more donation. I'm just going to read it.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't think that John answered the
What?
soap making. You think we'll ever
Oh,
do
we were
it?
going to see if Carol was going to jump in the chat. This is from Rewild Outdoors. Thank you. I'd love to see a homemade wine episode. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Well,
We've got big plans.
we'll see what we can do. And somebody asked about a road trip.
Yeah.
We got a mega road trip
Guys, we're always planning. We're always moving.
in the plans. So
Gotta-
we'll
gotta
see.
move.
Crazy road trip. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. We still have some.
It doesn't have anything to do with Townsends. We're just going on a road trip.
No, it does. It does.
We're gonna party.
So yeah, we'll be working on a road trip, and I would love to go to the USS Constitution.
I would too. I think.
But that's not
I'm
part of the
scared.
road trip we've got planned. And we'll see about soap making. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. She's in the chat. I haven't seen them yet.
What? You went on a little road trip yesterday, a research trip.
Yeah, I went on a research trip yesterday, and just for internal research for a big project we got coming up. We'll see how it works out.
All right. So I don't want to get too much further without talking about these wonderful new products.
New product. God, there's so much stuff. So much
Yeah.
fun. So much fun stuff. Last week we showed off some things from the 18th century. One of the things we showed off was a pocket watch of the 18th century, and it's been a while. We actually have reproduction pocket watches. Now, this isn't like an 18th century pocket watch because it's like thin, like a modern pocket watch. An 18th century pocket watch is about 7 times thicker than this. But of course, you can't get any modern pocket watch makers to make you a pocket watch the total shape of an 18th century one. This is as close as we can get it. It's about the right size and diameter. The face it's designed right off of an 18th century original. If you look at the number 4, it's got 4 eyes instead of an IV. And everything else about the face is designed like that. The hands are specifically picked out to replicate period hands. This one isn't a wind-up watch, obviously, because no one wants to wind their watches anymore. And if it was a wind-up watch, it wouldn't have the same kind of mechanical guts as the period watches would. So we just went ahead and said, hey, we're going to have it be, a battery watch. These guys are available. Is there a link in the description section?
I sent a link.
Yeah, I got them.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Took a little while.
these little guys come in a tin box and everything. You can store those away. They're great for a lot of reenactors. Like them because number one, you don't want to carry a really expensive period watch
Yeah.
on the field with you. A $400 watch that you oops and break and all that. These guys are great watches for reenactors, so you can actually tell what time it is. You can pull your watch out, and take a look at it without looking goofy, or whatever. With your cell phone, you don't want to do that.
I think you have to note too that people worry about the battery running out.
Right.
But there is a way to disengage the battery when you're not
Right.
using it.
Right. If you aren't using it, you can just pop the stem out, and that disengages the arms and makes the battery last a lot longer. And we do have a special handmade watch chains if you want a watch chain that's a little more period looking. So
Josh makes them.
right, and Josh makes them. It is one of those products that is backed by popular demand. A lot of folks are like, boy, I wish you still carried the pocket watch. So we brought them back.
Yeah, Jason Gatliff needs to
Yeah,
know.
Jason Gatliff. Are we going to have that one out sometime soon? Like next month, Wednesday or something?
I haven't talked to Aaron about that. That's in the schedule. But
We're going to have to.
I think that he's probably looking at us like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
who-
There's a Jason
no,
Gatliff interview that we did when we were down in Tennessee. So the other thing is we got some special ladies' shoes. Silk exterior, leather soles, really cool looking leather lady shoes.
Very cushy, actually,
Right.
too. I
Cushy.
didn't wear them, but I
You didn't wear them?
They
but-
don't make them in my size.
Right. I don't even think they make them in my size, but
And there are 3 color variants. I
yeah.
only brought
Is there a
2
blue
of
one?
them. Huh?
Is there a blue one?
There's a blue.
There's a blue one,
with
yeah, so-
champagne.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, there we go. So these are a sort of a trial-ish sort of product. Really interesting, like a light leather on the inside and silk on the outside. If you want something a little different in your ladies' shoes than the other kind that we carry, Very, very interesting. Very nice pieces. I don't have any with buckles on them, but the shoe buckles fit on there, and they look
I
super.
really want people to
Super
go and buy those because they're trial, and it's like one of the products I'm most excited about that we brought on in a long time. I think
Yeah.
they're great.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
So go
think-
buy them.
was that-
Thank you.
Right? Was that
Oh,
the
do you
only
have
other thing?
glasses?
Yeah, I got some glasses.
Those are on sale.
We also have some on sale glasses. These are kind of these are a 19th century with the extendo arms on them. Some of them are green in color. Some of them have magnifiers in them. They're early 19th century style. And these aren't our normal ones. We've never had these particular ones before. But they're on special right now. So
They're lighter weight than our normal
yeah,
ones.
they're lighter weight.
But they do have. We don't typically offer the range of readers that they
right.
have. That's what's pretty cool about them.
Right. So these all have
So
a bunch of.
they go from one and then they quarter step all the way
Right.
up to.
Some are silver, some are gold. They're just all over the place.
Right.
So check. Yes. Well,
Right.
I don't know if I'd call. I mean, they're green.
Yeah.
They make everything in the world green.
I bet you put them on one more time.
Okay.
Actually, maybe you should do.
Maybe I should model them.
Maybe you should chill with them because I bet you look awesome.
Well, these need to be cranked, man.
Crank them, man.
Yeah,
Cranking time.
gotta be cranked.
Aaron, did you see them when they were on? Did they look really cool?
They did look kind
I'd
of cool.
say you look pretty cool.
Huh?
Yeah.
It takes me a while to get these set for my head. There. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? They feel crooked.
Now everybody wants to buy them because they look awesome on you. Huh? Cool.
Somebody
Kyle,
says
do
you
you have
look
any
like
questions?
the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, you
You
got
want me to
glasses.
wear
on.
them?
No, you got
Poet.
glasses on. You
Let me
can't.
see them. I want to try them out. They're probably not cranked for my head.
Yeah, I've got like no
Maybe they
comment.
are.
No comment.
Do some questions?
Sure. Curious to what cost to live. Wow. Let me read that question again. I'm curious what it costs to live in a city or town, rent, and such.
Very good question. That I'll have to do some more. I don't have any of that off the top of my head. I haven't seen any of that research lately. Rents in the city. I'll bet it was cheaper than today. The city housing cost. I'll see what I can do.
What jewelry would have been considered lavish in the 18th century?
Well, I guess the better question would be, what jewelry is not lavish in the 18th century? One of the things that we actually see in this inventory is the amount of jewelry that the Native Americans were interested in. So there was all kinds of trade silver that they wanted that wasn't in demand by the other people on the continent. So there's a lot of that kind of jewelry that's in this inventory. Regular folks, while there is obviously certain sorts of jewelry, that one book. The book with the newspaper advertisements has a whole section of jewelers and sort of jewelry advertisements. So that's the place to kind of go, digging around for that. Common things would be, simple earrings, simple necklaces. You see those showing up in archaeological digs, even out frontier posts. They had posy rings or simple rings that they had. Those are very common. So that's what's common. So anything that's fancier, even paste jewelry that's got a lot to it, is probably a bit on the higher end here for the colonies. You don't see that in illustrations as much, but I'll bet if we looked in those newspaper advertisements, we'd find something pretty interesting.
How much did nutmeg cost back then?
Ooh, boy, what was that?
Through your pile of paper.
Yeah, I gotta go digging back in my piles of paper here. We had some relative costs, right? So the mace was twice as expensive as the nutmeg, and the nutmeg is running $3.25 a pound, and that's really expensive when a gun is $12, and the mace is $7 a pound, whereas cloves 87 cents, and cinnamon just doesn't even register compared to these items.
And those are all measured by pounds?
Yeah, these are all measured by pounds. So in stock in Fort Wayne, they had 4 pounds of mace. That's a massive quantity of mace. Someone was crazy when they stocked this store. 6 pounds of cloves, just a pound of cinnamon, and 2 pounds of nutmeg. You can tell the nutmeg's down because it was in such high demand.
Yeah. I just think it's funny that they got 4 pounds of mace and 1 pair of pliers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what?
What supplies did trappers take with them at this time, and what did it cost?
Good question. I can't give you the cost thing, but there's this interesting thing that shows up twice, and I forgot to find the location where I was reading it. But in the same series of documents, there's a document about I think it's Harrison, the General Harrison's putting together these troops to be in this Western campaign in 1812, and he's trying to figure out how to have 1 million rations of food rations before he goes on this campaign. 1 million days worth of rations, or whatever it is, right? 1 million man days. And he's trying to find all these rations coming from different places. And he says, don't even worry about the meat. I don't care about the meat. All we really need is salt and flour. And flour, what he was really concerned with. He wanted the salt because it's like, well, we'll get the meat wherever we're at and we'll just salt it. That's not a problem. But it's flour. That's what they're really concerned with. And Cresswell talks about that same thing, that he was worried about the flour running out. Meat, I got meat running out my ears. We just go shoot stuff, but it's the flour or the cornmeal that they don't have. And if you even look in the early things about Daniel Boone, and he talks about coming into Kentucky, and he's like, oh yeah, I didn't eat flour for 3 months because he didn't have any supplies at all, and he had, again, all the meat he needed, no flour whatsoever.
This is an age-old comparison. How much did a bar of chocolate cost?
Bar of chocolate. 100 pounds. Okay. I don't have the cost. I do not have the cost, but here he is gathering the supplies. 200 pairs. These are like crates of supplies going to the military. 1812. It's just the sheet that just pops up right in front of me, right? And I did not see anywhere in here coffee. But there are 3 crates of 100 pounds of chocolate each. So they didn't make any coffee, but they had 300 pounds of chocolate, as well as 100 pounds of raisins. Okay. So lots of tea, not much food other than that. I mean, all these other things are like shoes and blankets and paper and all kinds of different supplies. But chocolate was what caught my eye on that one. I'll have to dig up a chocolate comparison for you. I think it's a little cheaper than coffee.
Okay, so last week, Natalie and Tara were in here.
Yeah, Natalie and Tara, yeah.
On Monday,
yes,
we're going to release an episode.
This Monday.
Yes.
This Monday.
Coming up, after the weekend.
Right. There's a feast episode. We're cooking a whole bunch of stuff. Natalie and Tara are there. Wow.
How many dishes?
3 different dishes. And Natalie and Terry, if you're out there, if you're watching the recorded one, thank you guys for coming.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun that day. Had a lot of fun.
They're just as nice as you would imagine they are from their channel. They're just
maybe even nice.
It's a pretty epic video.
Yeah. Aaron's
been like sweating and cutting it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's happened on Monday. What about Patreon? Thank you for
Patreon. It's a jam-packed day. I got it somewhere. Oh, Patreon. Every week we have new Patreon people that come in and help support us on Patreon. There's over 400 people that help support us on Patreon. Thank you guys for doing that. The new names for this week. Janet Anderson. Scott Kalili. I wish I had that totally right. Tom. See, that one was easy. Mary King, Spartan, and let me see if I can get this one right. Edney. Taffy. I don't know. I didn't get the last name right. You guys.
I love this.
Yeah, but you need to have some hard ones this week.
Speaking of that, how are you on donations? We all caught up?
I got 3 I want to read off because it's about.
Yeah, we're getting
We're getting close.
Okay, I'll read
Kyle,
these off.
prepare for lightning round, my sir.
Okay.
Frederick Rivard. Any plans on coming to the Nutmeg State, Connecticut?
Well, we've got plans to be
we're
pretty
getting close.
darn close. Yeah.
I've driven through it.
Royal Airships. May I send a comic about the American Revolution I'm working on?
Of course.
Yeah, that sounds
For
awesome.
sure. I'd love to see that.
Send 73 copies, please.
Generic Gaming, thank you. Nutmeg for the Nutmeg Throne. Thank you. Thanks so much,
Whoa.
everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Nutmeg Throne?
Are you ready,
Is that what
Kyle?
you sit upon?
I am ready.
Wait, real quick before lightning round. Thank you for all the support. We've got the watch and the glasses
Yeah.
and the shoes.
Link in the description.
Those are all new products.
We need a
limited time
nutmeg
offers.
emoticon, dang it.
Yes.
We need to let Ryan talk.
Fine.
Those are all new products, and some of them are limited time offers, and the glasses are on sale. Go check all that stuff out. Kyle, lightning round.
Yes, sir.
Take a deep breath.
Yes or no? Yes or no answers.
Yes or no?
Here we go. How much would ice cost?
Yes.
It was free.
You just had to harvest it.
What would people use for soap or clothing detergent?
Soap,
Soap.
and clothing detergent. Wait, this isn't me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, come on. Watch the laundry one.
Did
She
we
talks
have
about it.
cigarettes in 1811?
Kelly,
No.
please.
What? Go.
No.
What?
They had little cigar things, like Spanish cigars.
Next.
Close as you get.
Did doctors also act as the pharmacist?
Maybe.
Can you do an episode on how banking was done in the North
Found
in
a
North
great
America?
new resource on Native American medicine. Just found it this morning. Go. I'm sorry. What was that again?
Can you do it? Wow. Can you do an episode on how banking was done in North America?
Guys, last night I was watching this movie. It was really good.
Hey,
Lightning round.
I'll try.
Okay. Does the colonial period have definite end and beginning dates, or beginning and end dates?
No.
That's a
How?
really interesting question, though.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We should ponder that after lightning round.
All right. How common was coonskin caps?
Not very.
In Disney movies or in history?
Yeah, with the tail hanging out and all that.
That's right. And last but not least, what was the first form of currency in North America?
Corn.
Corn. Okay.
That's a really good answer.
Man.
As you stared into your glass.
Yes.
I like the.
That's the
whole
thumbnail.
presentation.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
it
be
should
a
be.
thumbnail. You hold
This one?
up the yeah. Yeah.
I've got more, I think.
Nah, you're good.
Oh.
Hey, as people are going out, I'm interested in just like comment yes or no or whatever. Are you interested? Do you like the historical show and tell episodes?
But I didn't get to do
we
any with
didn't
show
get
and
to do
tell.
it, right.
I ran
We'll
out of
save-
my
We'll
goodies.
save it for
We'll
next
save
week.
it, but
We'll save it.
do you guys like them? Do you want more of it? Is that fun? Let's
yes.
find out.
Yes.
Lots of
Because
yeses,
they're really
please.
fun. I like them a lot.
We like them, but do you like them?
Yeah.
We
Lots
don't
of
know.
yeses.
Or is
Lots
I'm
of
just
yeses.
yakking too
They're
much?
just telling me that you're saying yes because
No, I'm
they
serious.
want to
yes,
do it.
Yes.
It's all a
We're gonna
charade.
keep-
There's
It's
one
a
no.
charade.
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Next week, I've got show and tell.
Lots of yeses.
Unless a
Tell
lot
Ryan
of no's
he's-
come through.
Tell Ryan he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Who said that?
Look at
Holy
that.
smoke. Look
Come,
at that go.
why don't you come? Oh, never mind.
Aren't you glad you're not looking at the chat right now?
I'm not in this room.
There's
Talk
one
about-
no. I see one.
One no.
One no.
One no.
All yeses, but
Thank
one no.
you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
You're like the one dislike on that one video.
Super special thanks to everyone that's here in the room. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Natalie and Tara, for being in earlier on Monday. You guys did a tremendous job, and I know you guys did like parasailing last week, and hopefully you survived that. I don't know if that happened.
Hopefully no wipeouts.
Cross our fingers on that. Anyway, you guys out there in the audience are super special folks. Thank you for your support. You support us on Super Chat. You support us by watching our videos, by sharing our videos. And I've been seeing a lot of those shares popping up, like in my Facebook feed and all kinds of stuff. So I know you guys are out there sharing our videos. That's what makes the channel grow. We couldn't do it without you. We seriously could not do it without you. And there wouldn't be any point in it anyway. So I want to thank you guys out there for everything you do. And thanks for watching.